Hello everyone, this is part 11 of What If Naruto Found His Soulmate, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The light slowly faded, he could feel it. He could feel it fading away, but he was afraid to open his eyes. He was afraid to encounter the truth. Had they made it? Did something went wrong again? He was taken off guard when a pair of hands sn around his and a warm body touched his own. A pair of soft lips then made contact with his. He slowly opened his eyes to see no other that Hinata, kissing him, her own eyes closed. He closed his eyes again as he hugged her by the waist and returned the kiss, wanting to enjoy it as it lasted. They slowly broke apart, still in each other's arms. They were the old, good selves again. They smiled at each other and Hinata buried her face at the crook of his N. She had missed the feeling of his warmth all over her. He smiled as he rested his chin on top of her head. He was taller again, and to his secret relief, she had long hair now. "We did it," she whispered softly, her head still resting at the crook of his N. "Yeah," was his own reply. They slightly broke apart, not breaking the hug, and looked around. It was night and the street they were in was completely empty. They both sighed. They were still in Konoha, and things seemed to be the same. "Hey, let's go home," he whispered and she nodded. They both jumped on a rooftop and headed for his apartment. "So, let's see what's new," Kyubi said to himself as he concentrated on the threads of time, looking for any changes. They reached the door and he smiled widely as he reached in his pocket. He took out a set of keys and unlocked the door. They entered inside and he couldn't feel more at home. Sitting on the couch, they hugged each other and he gave her a slight kiss on the forehead. "So, furball, what's new?" he asked, raising an eyebrow practically to no one. The demon was laughing his head off inside their mind. "Oh, that's good. The kid has a fan club," he said and continued laughing. Naruto now raised both eyebrows. "Nani? Since when do I have a fan club?" he asked. The demon restrained himself to a chuckle. "Well, it seems like your deed at the Goko neighborhood didn't go unnoticed, at least from the girls," he said and chuckled again. Both teens frowned. "What do you mean?" they asked in unison. Kyubi sighed. "All right, here it goes," he started. It looked like Naruto's victory at the Goken neighborhood didn't go unnoticed by the young populace. The girls that had seen his fight had spread the rumor around and soon his fan club was created. It seemed that from then on, his adventures were well known across the young citizens of the village. Before them, of course, Hinata knew about them all. He felt a little bad, knowing that Hinata could feel a little jealous about it, although she was listening calmly. He felt a small weight lift from his heart. He would be damned to leave her for another. This wouldn't happen, not now, not ever. Although the young populace seemed to adore him, the adults seemed to hate him even more. They knew about Kyubi and thought that Naruto was gradually losing control. They had seen his red eyes at the battle, and in his later adventures, he had used the powers of the demon more, seeming to be in less control though, since he didn't have it as a bloodline yet. But now, he was in full control of this powers. And no one could take her away with the excuse of him being a demon, no one. After Kyubi finished explaining, they headed to the bedroom. They snuggled close to each other once more, wearing the sleeping clothes, which were basically Naruto's black t-shirts. Hinata entered her favorite position. Her head on his chest, one hand hugging him while the other lied on his chest as well, her body snuggled as close as possible and one leg over his. She had missed the warmth his body radiated. She wanted to have all of it, feel all of it. She wanted to stay there forever. She missed the sound of his heartbeat being the last thing she heard before falling in a dreamless, yet happy sleep. Naruto couldn't help but feel happier than ever. She was so warm and soft. She was barely shorter, yet she always snuggled lower to lay on his chest. He wanted to keep her close forever. He feared that if this embrace ended, she would puff away like a dream. He didn't want it to be a dream, no. And thankfully, it wasn't. For her slight moans of relief made his heart melt. The slow rising and falling of her chest was so real, he thought her warmth could melt even an ice jutsu. Her hair was soft like silk as always when he stroked them. The pale light of the moon coming in from the windows matched perfectly with her sleeping form, as if it was made for her, as if the light itself radiated from her. He knew that in some ways it was true, because for him, she was an angel. Slowly opening his eyes the next morning, the first thing he did was smile at the sleeping Hinata, half on him half next to him. The light of the morning sun was more than enough for him to wake up. He had become a light sleeper lately, and he didn't really like it. He sat there, lying on his bed and waiting for her to wake up. He knew that she would pretty soon. And he also knew she liked having him next to her when she did so. After a few minutes, he felt her stir lightly, and he smiled, knowing she was waking up. Instead of rising though, she rubbed her cheek on his chest and that made him melt even more. She was so cute when she wanted. "Eni, Hina-chan, rise and shine," he said softly and she looked up at him with sleepy eyes, yet she smiled. "MHM," she said and buried her face in his chest again. He sighed. "Hinata-chan, we've got work today, remember?" He said quietly. She was frozen for a few seconds. She then turned her head to look at him. "Hi," she said and leaned forward to kiss him. He gladly returned it. He got up first, heading for the bathroom. She sat up on the bed, smiling at his fleeting form. She stretched her hands and yawned lightly. Getting up, she went to his wardrobe. She had stuffed some of her own clothes at the left side of it where he didn't have clothes in the first place. So, the wardrobe was half-half. After around 5 minutes, he got out of the bathroom with a towel warped around him, only to see Hinata standing there with her clothes in hand, waiting for him to come out, smiling altogether. He smiled back and gave her a peck on the lips before heading at the wardrobe for his own clothes. She smiled and entered the bathroom. He didn't find it hard to choose what to wear. He was always wearing the same clothes anyway. A black t-shirt, orange pants with a kunai holster on the right thigh, and a black-orange jacket. It was a rather hot day so he had it unzipped. Heading out, he picked up his high-tie 8 which lied next to Hinata's at the desk, and put it in his pocket. He smiled, taking one last glance at the bathroom door before leaving the room. Kyubi had also told him that Kakari was S. They had arrived the same night he SD, from their hands. Today was the day of the trap, but the trappers would have a surprise coming for them this time. Tsunade knew about them and Naruto would as usual, be Hokage in around a month, along with officially becoming Tsunade's son. The demon also told them that Hiashi never sent Hinata to live with Naruto for a while. The clothes she had in his wardrobe were the ones she wore last night. So, today they had to face far more than just the trappers. Soon after, Hinata came out of the bathroom. She wore her own ninja outfit, which consisted of the usual kunoiki net shirt, blue shorts that reached down her knees, kunai holster at the right thigh, and her trademark lavender white colored jacket. Though now it was unzipped and the sleeves hanged down her sides. She felt really good the last time she had it like that, and wouldn't hesitate to feel that way again. Auto FN Naruto and Hinata look way cooler with unzipped jackets, don't you think? Smiley face. Grabbing her high-tie 8 and putting it in her pocket, she walked out of the bedroom and into the small hallway. Naruto was leaning on the wall next to the door, grinning widely at her. She smiled back. "Want to go out for breakfast?" he asked, reaching his hand out for her to take while smiling. She nodded and gladly took it. "Hi," she said softly and his smile turned into a grin again. "Let's go then. Time travels starve me," he joked and she giggled. She was hungry herself. They got out of the apartment and he locked the door. Looking at her, he threw a worried glance at the crook of her N with a seal lied. "You sure you want people to know?" "I don't have a," he was cut off by a finger on his lips. "I told you, Naruto-kun, I'm tired of hiding. But let's play a little act, shall we?" she said, mentally repeating to him the phrase he had used when Sakura came to ask him on a date. He grinned knowingly. People would get a big surprise today. Hinata had once more covered her N with her high-tie 8. When the right moment came, she would give the people of Konoha a good shock. They walked down the streets of Konoha, side by side, heading for Naruto's old favorite Ichiraku ramen stand. Hinata had her arm wrapped around his forearm. They both noticed the glares of hate, confusion and disgust from the villagers, but they could care less. To them, the list of people that their opinion truly mattered was rather short. They sat down at a stool next to each other. The shop had just opened, and they both knew it also served breakfast in the morning. Ayami walked in, and seeing this two together, her face immediately lightened up. She walked towards them from the other side of the counter. So, Naruto, when are you going to dissolve the fan club? She asked curiously, and Naruto grinned widely. Ayami and Tuki also knew about Naruto and Hinata. They were like family to him after all. Today's a great day to break fan clubs, he said, shooting a toothy smile to both girls. Hinata blushed slightly while Ayami giggled. So, what do you want for breakfast? She asked, smiling at them. Soon their order came and they started eating practically in silence. Hinata silently activated her normal Byakugan at times. When she did for the third time, she smiled. The act was about to begin. Naruto-kun, I'm going out to get some air, she said, smiling at him. He smiled back while continuing to eat his own ramen. Taking a glance across the counter, he noticed that Ayami's attention was caught. He grinned. Hinata walked out of the stand and walked behind a wall. Activating her Byakugan again, she was ready for some fun. Naruto kept eating slowly in silence. Soon, he heard footsteps coming from behind him and suddenly, many squeals filled the air. He nearly choked in his ramen from the horrific sounds. Naruto-kun, over here. He heard many girls crying out, trying to sound seductive. In truth though, they scared him more than seduced him. He didn't turn to look at them though. This was a little trick he had learned from Sasuke. The more you ignore them, the less they bother you. Well, it worked sometimes. Too bad this wasn't one of them. The girls approached even more. Soon they were only around 10 steps away from him. He started sweating. What was he supposed to do? Just tell them he had a girlfriend. Tell him to back off. Well, he didn't really have experience in fangirls. For once, he wished Sasuke was here. Suddenly, the footsteps froze, the squeals stopped. For a moment, he feared that time had stopped. He heard a single pair of footsteps coming closer and closer. He smiled and turned around, though instead of an ink blue-haired girl, a blonde one came. His face immediately became neutral as he looked back at the counter. The girl sat next to him, seeming to be neutral herself. Taking a glance at her, he saw she was a tall, blonde, blue-eyed girl around his age. She seemed to wear two pieces of cloth, one covering half of her top, the other a pair of mini shorts. She was good-looking, but there was someone that couldn't be matched in this area for him, and she wasn't too far away. The girl seemed to smile seductively at him. A sweat formed on his forehead. It was becoming hot in here, and not because of her beauty. Naruto-kun, will you order me some ramen? She asked seductively. Right now, he wanted to run away at top speed. But, he had to face them right. He couldn't run forever. Damn it, it's Yamanaka Yoshi. He's gone now. Yeah, she has a genjutsu that makes anyone she wants to fall in love with her. Damn her. Has she already dumped her last boyfriend? She's insatiable. He heard the group of girls behind him whispering to one another with his enhanced hearing. A genjutsu. He would fall in love with this girl. He didn't want to. Hell no. He was ready to leave when the girl next to him whispered a technique, and his heart skipped a beat. Hinata gasped. She was ready to rush in there and stop the girl, but she smiled at Naruto's reaction. What for? I don't even know you, he stated simply, denying her previous request. Yoshi stared at him wide-eyed. What had she done wrong? That technique never failed. But Naruto-kun, you love me, remember? She said seductively once more. He chuckled. What? I told you miss I don't even know you, he repeated, continuing to chuckle. Yoshi once more stared at him, completely stunned. And don't call me kun. You don't know me that well, he added, slurping some more noodles from his ramen bowl. He quickly finished the remaining ramen and stood up, placing the money for the 2 bowls on the counter. Oi, Ayami-chan. I'm leaving. Tell Tsukioji-san hello from me. He said happily at an evilly grinning Ayami and walked out of the stand. Yoshi quickly stood up and followed him. The group of girls in the meantime just stared in disbelief. How the hell had he resisted her technique? Naruto-kun, what do you mean? How can you not love me? I'm beautiful, smart. She was cut off as Naruto raised his hand, motioning her to silence. Yes, you are good looking, smart, I doubt it, but I don't love you. Live with it, he stated bluntly. Yoshi was stunned once more, but she wouldn't give up. She wouldn't let him ruin her reputation. No one ever turned her down. She formed a hand seal and whispered a technique once more while aiming at his back. The technique launched. Hinata then came out of her hiding spot behind the wall. Naruto grinned widely at her appearance. Oi, Hinata-chan. I already paid for the ramen. Want to go train? He asked when she was only a feet or two apart from him. She smiled. Of course, Naruto-kun, she said with a nod. Great, he said, grinning widely. He grabbed her by the waist and they began walking away, leaving a group of stunned girls and an equally stunned Yoshi behind. Hey wait, she shouted. Both teens turned to look at her. She had a seductive smile again and she had entered a C pose. Naruto frowned inwardly while staring emotionlessly at the girl. She didn't mean to give up, did she? Oh, well, the hard way then. Naruto-kun, come on, you know you want me. Leave that weirdo aside and come with me, she said seductively and he frowned. I will come with you, he said, and the girl's face brightened. Had she done it? Had she seduced him finally? When the world breaks in half, he added, his face and voice serious, betraying no mistake or place for argument. Yoshi was shocked. Why do you like that weird bee anyway? I'm way more, she said but was cut off by an angry glare of red eyes. One more word, and they won't find your pieces, he said in his demonic voice, and the girl was scared less. He grinned evilly at her reaction. Hinata in the meantime, just smiled at the girl. Good, now that we are settled, let's go Hinata-chan, he said, throwing a smile at the girl he held. She smiled and nodded, leaning forward to kiss him. He gladly returned it. All the girls stared at the two in disbelief. When had Hinata done this? Naruto and Hinata walked away from the scene. The group of girls left, sad and disappointed. Yoshi glared angrily at their fleeting backs. She wouldn't let it slide that easily. That weird-eyed bee wouldn't ruin her reputation. Hinata in the meantime, was more than happy to able to finally hug him in public. She was stuck next to him, her one arm hugging him by the waist while he returned the gesture. They both noticed the looks of shock from some villagers, others of hate, others of disgust. But as always, little did they care. Naruto-kun, wasn't it a bit much to use your voice? Hinata asked softly, looking up at him. He looked at her and smiled. Nope. She asked for it, he said and looked forward again. She smiled. Truly, that girl wanted it badly, trying to seduce him even when she saw her with him. She wondered though if that girl could give up that easily. Well, no matter what, Hinata was always there to speak her mind a little if the situation demanded it. Let her come and take a taste. Soon enough, they reached the training ground where they were attacked in the first place. Shino and Kiba were there like last time, sparring. When they finished, they finally noticed Naruto and Hinata, sitting side by side near a tree. Naruto had leaned down, his arms crossed behind his head as a pillow, staring at the clouds while Hinata sat next to him looking at her two teammates. Kiba grinned while Shino's expression seemed emotionless. They walked towards the two. Ohio, Hinata, Naruto. Kiba said happily, throwing grins at the two. Naruto grinned back while Hinata smiled. Shino just nodded in greeting. Came to train again, I presume? Shino asked seriously and both of them nodded. What kind of training can this Barker give anyway? Kiba said, crossing his arms over his chest and looking at the two questioningly. Naruto grinned and Hinata smiled again. Well, care to show them, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked, having sat up and motioning her to go forward. She smiled at him and nodded. She stood up. Naruto-kun helps me control my new chakra, she said seriously at her two teammates. They both raised their eyebrows. Wait, what? New chakra? Kiba asked in disbelief. Hinata nodded and her eyes flashed a demonic blood red. If Shino and Kiba didn't knew her, they would have plenty of shivers going down their spines right now. Whoa, Kiba said, his jaw hanging open while Shino seemed to just stare behind his sunglasses. Hinata smiled. What's up with your eyes? He finally asked, pointing a finger at Hinata. She kept her smile. It's about my new chakra, she said and Shino nodded. His bugs had examined the chakra, and it was more than intriguing. Hinata has the same chakra with Naruto. Shino said seriously. Kiba turned his questioning gaze at his teammate. What? Naruto? What do you mean? He asked, having not caught the big picture yet. Shino sighed. Naruto has two types of chakra. his normal one, and the Kyuubi's. Now, the same goes for Hinata, he explained, and Kiba's eyes went wide. You mean Hinata has Kyuubi's chakra? He asked in disbelief, turning to look again at the red-eyed Hinata, who was still smiling. Naruto sat up and stood next to her, flashing his own red eyes with the S pupils. Yep, and she's damn good in controlling it, he exclaimed happily, throwing a smile at the girl next to him, who smiled back. Naruto, how did you manage to give Hinata your secondary chakra, and why? Shino asked, tilting his head slightly to the side, evidencing question. Naruto sighed. He took a glance at Hinata, who nodded. She took off her high tie 8, revealing the 9 tails seal. Both boys raised their eyebrows. What's that? Kiba asked, pointing a finger at the crook of Hinata's N. Naruto and Hinata smiled, turning their eyes back to normal and motioning their friends to sit down. They explained the whole situation. Well, it didn't take long, of course. They didn't say about their little time travel, neither did they mention the soulmate part. They wanted their mental communication to be their little secret. They only told him about Hinata being his girlfriend. Well, that explained things enough. I see, was Shino's response as he looked down in thought. Kiba was staring wide-eyed. Wait, for how long now are you two together? He asked, pointing a finger at the two. They smiled. A few days now, Naruto said, and Kiba frowned. And you placed a seal on her, while being together only for a few days? He asked in disbelief. They both nodded. Yep, but I asked her first, I didn't force it, Naruto said seriously, and Hinata nodded. Kiba-kun, Shino-kun, Naruto-kun didn't force anything. I gladly accepted this seal on my own. Besides, Kyuubi-kun is fun to be around, she said and giggled. Naruto chuckled while the other two stared at them again. Wait, Kyuubi is in your mind? Kiba asked, and they both nodded. This seal allows Kyuubi-kun to talk to both of us mentally, she said and smiled. So, how stronger are you now, Hinata? Shino asked seriously, and Hinata smiled. She stood up, walked towards a target dummy that stood nearby, and gave it a good Hojuken strike in the center, breaking it in pieces. Both pairs of eyes went wide. Shino's not noticeable, of course. Naruto couldn't help but be proud of her strength. Kiba leaned towards him. You better not piss her off, he whispered, and Naruto grinned. I know, and neither should anyone, he whispered back. Hinata turned around and sat next to Naruto again, hugging him tightly. He hugged her back. Well, I guess we should go. By the way, I thought that Naruto would never really notice you. Man, I mean, nearly all Konoha knew about her crush, yet you were so thick-headed. Quote. Kiba said, putting his palm on his forehead. Naruto grinned. Well, I was a fool. But I'm trying to make up for it, he said, and kissed Hinata on the forehead. She smiled. You already have, she said, and he grinned widely. Shino nodded and stood up. Let's go, Kiba. Enough time of Hinata's training wasted already, he said seriously, and Kiba nodded. See you around, guys, he said while walking off with Shino and waving back at them. Naruto waved in return while Hinata smiled. Shino was also smiling under his hood. She was happy now, happier than ever, and for that, he was happy too. Hinata and Naruto sparred for around an hour, both using their Kyuubi chakra. Hinata was more than a challenge since he could hardly land a strike on her, let alone defeat her. But neither did Hinata find him an easy opponent. He was very agile and his shadow clones were more than useful in taijutsu. Her protection of 8 diagrams, 64 palms was enough to block a red Rasengan and repel him back. Unfortunately for her, Naruto had nearly endless chakra while she still had to work on this aspect. When they finished sparring, they kissed each other and went to the lake to was up. Naruto took off his jacket and shirt. If memory served, they still had an hour or two until the attack, so why don't have some fun till then? Taking off his pants, he was left in his boxes. Hinata, in the meantime, was also only dressed in her underwear, and once more, he couldn't help but think how beautiful she was. With the help of her newfound Kyuubi healing, her body didn't have any scars, making it more than a sight to see. And he was still amazed that she was his girlfriend. He walked on the water instead of jumping in. He walked a few steps towards the center of the lake. Kneeling down, he let his fingers enter the water, and he shivered at the coldness. He heard footsteps on the water behind him, and turning around, his lips met another's, and this was enough for him to lose his concentration. Surprised as he was, he lost control of the chakra in his feet and fell in the water. He opened his eyes under it to see a figure standing on the surface, seeming to giggle. The figure jumped upwards and fell in the water herself. He smiled. Jumping out of his trance, he started swimming inside the waters of the lake. Soon, Hinata reached him and kissed him on the lips once more, underwater this time. He smiled inwardly while kissing her. It was like always, the best thing he had ever felt, with the addition of the slight taste of water in it. When they broke apart, they had already reached the surface. Popping their heads out of the water, he grinned widely at her while she smiled. He rose above the surface and grinned evilly now. She also used her chakra to rise on the surface. When she got all of herself out, a splash of water hit her. She giggled and started splashing him herself. When they stopped, they were both panting lightly. Naruto grinned once again. In his hand formed a ball of chakra and inside it, chakra could be seen, swirling wildly. She gasped. He rammed the Rasengan in the water and a continuing massive splash was directed on her. When it finished, Naruto stared wide-eyed as nothing stood where Hinata was supposed to be. He grinned. Are you so sweet that you melt with some water? He asked and he could hear giggles in the back of his mind. Suddenly, under his feet, a few inches in front of him, a figure launched out of the water. Before he could react, the figure, or Hinata, was kissing him while he held her by the waist. They broke apart and smiled at each other. Yes you are, he answered his own question and grinned widely, making her blush slightly. After another hour or so of playing with the water, they finally came out and sat on the shore, still in their underwear. Hinata shivered as the cold air rushed on her. She went to pick up her clothes, only to find them drenched. She sighed. The splashing they had done probably had their clothes soaked as well. Looking at Naruto, she realized that his own clothes were fine. She sighed again. Naruto looked over at her and noticed the sad expression she had while looking at her own clothes. He smiled and walked towards her. She gasped as she felt something warm wrapping around her. She turned around to see a widely grinning Naruto. Looking down at herself, she noticed that she was wrapped in his jacket. She smiled. She had wanted to be in there a long time now. They sat on the shore, Hinata's clothes stretched in the sunlight. She had wrapped herself tightly in his jacket. It smelled like him, and she wouldn't change that smell for anything. Naruto at the moment was quite wary. Hinata would have to fight nearly any if they attacked now. She had his jacket, yes, but without any other clothes. His face brightened as he sat up and walked towards her still drying clothes. She didn't notice of course, for she was lost in daydreams, about him. Kneeling down, he placed his hands above them and red chakra started emitting. Naruto thought that, if Kyuubi's chakra was like fire, wouldn't it dry the clothes too? He grinned widely as the clothes seemed to start getting dried. Soon, they were eligible for wearing. Hinata frowned a little at the idea of removing his jacket, so he grinned and let her wear it. He was okay in a t-shirt anyway. She wore her normal clothes, excluding her own jacket and kept his wrapped around her. She couldn't stop inhaling that smell. Naruto knew it was time. He activated his Kyuubi powers and scanned the area with his hearing and smell. Soon, he caught a group of men approaching him slowly. He turned to Hinata with his blood-red eyes and she immediately caught the idea. Turning her own eyes on, along with the enhanced Byakugan, she saw the group of men approaching. Standing up, she walked next to Naruto and hugged him tightly. He hugged her back and kissed her forehead. Don't worry, Hina-chan. They won't get us this time, he said and she smiled. They both deactivated their eyes. After a minute or two, a group of 5 men jumped out of the bushes. Naruto turned and looked at them, grinning widely. Hello. Want to eat anything? He asked, still grinning. The men just stood there, staring at them under their masks. We didn't come here for ramen boy. We are here to dispose the world of a worthless heir and a demon, one of them said. Naruto's grin now changed in an evil smile, along with Hinata's next to him. They both flashed their red eyes, and the men were taken aback for a second. Who talked about food? The teens asked in unison as their evil grins widened. The men seemed to have shivers running wildly down their spines. Throwing a smile at each other, they launched against the men. They were quick to react for their own good, having drowned the katanas and having dodged a lethal strike. They surrounded the teens who had now slipped into their fighting stances. One of the men laughed out loud at the sight of Hinata's Hojuken stance. Oh my god, you truly are worthless. You can't even stand in a proper Juken stance, he said. Hinata frowned, but it was quickly replaced by an evil grin. I don't need Juken to make you cry like a baby, now do I? She asked, her voice a mix of her own with a lot of demonic tint. What she said was true. She was using Hojuken, not Juken. There was a difference, you know. The men didn't waste another second arguing and launched against the teens. Naruto dodged an uppercut strike with ease, but he nearly fell on another blade. Dodging the strike to the heart in the last second, he turned around and a quick kick in the ribs sent the man flying on a tree. He jumped towards Hinata and rolled on the ground, avoiding a barrage of shuriken and kunai. Standing next to her, he made a high round kick and she ducked, avoiding the strike which purposely landed on the man who stood in front of her with his katana risen. 2 down, 3 to go. Naruto dodged to the side another forward blade strike to the ribs, allowing Hinata to step at the opposite side. He launched a punch straight to his face while Hinata kicked him in the stomach, sending him flying at the bushes. They turned to smirk evilly at their 2 remaining opponents. One of them glared and charged. Hinata avoided his blade with ease as she kicked him in the stomach with her knee. The man had his lights out with just this one strike. The last man standing was shivering in fear. They were too strong for him to handle. He whispered something in what seemed to be a headphone and quickly ran away. Naruto looked at Hinata, who nodded. They entered the chase. Is everything ready? A cloaked man asked the other 5. They nodded. The trap is set. All they have to do is step in the middle of the clearing, another one said. They nodded again. Yes, but will the genjutsu last? Another asked, and all of them looked down. Let us hope so, the first cloaked man said again, and they nodded once more. They chased the man until he was lost in a clearing. They nodded to each other and stepped in, walking slowly towards the center. Soon, the genjutsu fell and the men started the sealing jutsu. Naruto and Hinata stood calmly at the center of the circle. One of the men raised an eyebrow under his hood. Any last words, brats? He asked. Both teens turned their heads to look at him, a smirk on their face. His eyes went wide. Yep. Bye-bye, Naruto said, waving a hand at them. They both puffed in a cloud of smoke. Cage buncheons. Damn it, we're trapped. One of the men yelled. He turned around to leave when suddenly, a gentle fist strike with plenty of red chakra, threw him on the ground. All the men stared wide-eyed. The dropout of their clan had just killed an elite. Naruto appeared standing next to Hinata, his own eyes flashing the demonic blood red with pupils that could make anyone run for his life. Both teens noticed the look of fear under the men's hood. They smiled evilly. What's the matter? Afraid of something? They said in unison, the unique demonic voices joining together, making a mix that made you think the united voice came from the depths of hell. The temperature for the men seemed to rise for around 10 degrees. Oh well, then, Naruto said, glaring at him, we will just, Hinata added, clean up the place, they said, adding to each other's words. Both teens smiled evilly once more as the fear was now obvious on the men. Damn demons. You won't get us that easily. A man said, his slightly shaking voice betraying the growing fear. Nevertheless, he charged towards them, and the most disturbing thing was, he used Juken. Looks like we'll have to say Hiyashi more than we intended. Single quote. Naruto said, mentally throwing Hinata an evil grin. She grinned back and nodded mentally. The man was now a few feet away from them and launched a Juken palm strike, aiming Naruto's chest. It never made contact. Naruto dodged to the side, avoiding the hit, but the man didn't stop there. Regaining balance rather quickly, he threw a kick at Naruto's ribs, who raised his hands to block the strike. It landed, and Naruto was slightly pushed back by the chakra-enhanced kick. These men weren't newbies. Hinata attempted a strike at the man's back, who dodged to the side sensing danger from behind. Hinata composed her hand in the last second, managing to turn and send a kick at the man. He raised his hands to block the attack, but Hinata's enhanced kick was more than enough to send him flying over the trees. She blinked a few times, amazed at her own strength. To tell the truth, she didn't really have a chance to practice her powers in serious combat. And these men weren't your everyday ninja. The 3 of the 4 still standing men slipped into battle stances. 2 of them seemed to also be Hyugas, though their eyes were hid under their hoods. One of them executed a water jutsu, sending water needles against the teens, aiming to K. They dodged by jumping away, only to be met by two fire dragons. Both of them grinned and let the dragons strike. The two men that had launched the attack smiled in victory. But when the smoke succeeded, the teens were just standing there, grinning. Fools, Naruto hissed. Hinata had used the protection of 64 palms technique to completely avoid the attack, and Naruto had momentarily risen the cloak of the fox, in order to repel the jutsu. Kyuubi's chakra was like fire, so they had extreme resistance against it. Their evil grins were cut short as an invisible blade slashed Hinata in half. Naruto's eyes went wide as Hinata stood still for a second. Something, like an invisible blade, had sd her in half. Yet the only thing she did was puff in a cloud of smoke as her place was taken by a wooden log. Naruto turned his head to look at his right, only to see Hinata standing next to him, smiling. He then noticed that the blade didn't come from nowhere. Among the men, one stepped forward, his hood taken down, revealing a man around their age, his hair white like snow, his eyes, a complete white. Both teens now knew, this men, and especially the white-eyed one, would be quite the challenge. I am Fosse of the Wind. Surrender now, Jinchurikis, and I'll make sure you'll fast. He stated, his expression completely expressionless. Hinata knew about such cold masks. Her father wore one all the time, her whole clan did. But this one's, it was perfect ice. What do you seek from me, boy? Naruto asked in a clear Kyuubi voice. Hinata knew it was Kyuubi who talked via Naruto. The boy's expression didn't change at all. Honorable Kyuubi no Kitsune, surrender and I'll see to it that your vessels won't in agony. Though I am curious as to how can you have two vessels, he said. Curious he was. Man was he good at hiding it. Hinata was a little scared. This one was even better than her father, or even Neji when he was a cold-hearted bastard, in hiding emotions and staying blank. It was as if he was a corpse that could talk. There have been some special conditions. I want to hear your purpose before the battle begins, Kyuubi said through Naruto. Hinata frowned. Kyuubi-kun, why are you so polite? She asked curiously. The demon sighed. Naruto was also showing a curious expression, mentally that is. This one is Fosse of the Wind as he said. He doesn't come from a hidden village. I have heard tales about him. It is said, that long ago, the demon lord of the wind was sealed in him. Unfortunately, he wasn't sealed very well, so the demon took over control, devouring his vessel's soul. You can see the outcome. Kyuubi told them and they all averted their attention back to the emotionless Fosse. I am here to rid the world of the demon lords. Devouring your powers, Kyuubi-san, will help my cause. You are the strongest of the demon lords before me, after all. I am also looking forward in paying a visit to our old friend, Ichibi no Shukaku, he said, or rather stated blankly as ever. I thought you were the stronger furball, Naruto said in annoyance. Kyuubi sighed, I am. Only because Fosse was known as S. He is the 10-tailed demon lord. Our lord. It is the first time I see him for a few thousands of years, he said and both teens shivered. Was Fosse that strong? It seemed that the name of his former container was long lost in the threads of time. Yet right now, they had to stop him. I am, of course, allowed by the Council of Konoha to dispose your vessel. Having the mortals' approval will only help my cause, before I destroy them that is. They don't seem to hold him in high regard, Kyuubi-san. Is it because he is your vessel? Is it because your beloved mate was ked? Doesn't matter. Emotions can betray, Kyuubi-san. That is why I have restricted myself from such stupidities. I had advised you to do the same, but your emotions blinded you. Now, you will pay the price, Fosse said, emotion not evident in even a tint of his voice. His expression, the iceberg mask he had from the beginning. The other three men that accompanied the demon lord shivered as a massive, sly, fearsome king and mouse intent radiated from the teens. Mind though, Fosse-san, that I was the lord of hell. I'll be more than happy to let you pay a visit there when we are done, both teens said in perfect unison, the voice of their own demon lord lingering in every word. Hinata slipped in her Hojuken stance while Naruto activated the first tail of his Cloak of the Fox. Very well then, Kyuubi-san. Let us have it your way. He stated blankly and in an instant, the men next to him were cut in tiny pieces, as a rain of blood fell on the ground around him. He didn't even flinch, not even the slightest bit. Hinata had her Akakugan, aka means red, Kugan, I suppose it mean eyes. Anyway, bear with me. It's Hinata's enhanced Byakugan, active at full force. Kyubi was more than impressed. But he couldn't help but fear. This man, this demon lord, was more powerful than him at some extent. Would this too be able to defeat him? Naruto didn't lose a moment. Forming two blood-red Razingans at both hands, he launched against Fosse. He again didn't flinch at all. Naruto extended both hands in an attempt for a dual strike, but when he went close, he felt multiple cuts cover all his body. He winced in pain as the Razingans deformed. His whole body was covered with cuts, his clothes nearly shredded. The blood soon stopped flowing though as the wounds healed in nearly an instant. Fosse seemed to raise a hair of his eyebrows, if that was even possible. The only reason Hinata had the idea of it was that her eyes were totally focused on his face. Yet again, the expression didn't last for more than a split second. I can see your healing abilities still work. I'm glad, he stated blankly and raised his hand, as if preparing to strike with a sword, right at Naruto's head. The boy noticed it just in time to leap out of the way, avoiding an invisible sly wind blade from striking him. What the F, Kyubi? I can barely get close. Naruto shouted in his mind. Kyubi sighed, he ain't easy kid. Be wary, was all the demon managed to say before another invisible strike was avoided in the last second. Hinata had already charged, being nearly a blur of lavender and white at the tremendous speed her red chakra gave her. Fosse was barely able to block plenty of Juken strikes with his wind, though his wind shield seemed to be weakened every time she hit it. Sadly, she was thrown back by an invisible fist in her stomach, which sent her flying backwards. She landed on her feet in a crouch position. Naruto had avoided another blade attack and was now crouching next to her. Fur ball. He's too strong. I can't get close. Naruto shouted, glaring at the expressionless man. Keep it up, kits. Naruto, keep him distracted. Hinata, take down his shield. Why you think he came after me before chasing the other lords? My chakra is the only thing that can harm him. The other lords would round up with me if one of them was attacked before I was taken out. Kitty, use your Hojuken to bring down his shields. Once that's done, you must both strike. Naruto, stay alive, the demons said, and they were both slightly amused that he had called them by the names for, maybe the first time. Naruto unlocked two more tails, wanting to keep himself alive for as long as possible. He felt even more power rushing inside him. He felt his whole body being charged up. In a blur, he was gone. Fosse emotionlessly moved his hand up and down, left and right as if holding a sword. Naruto could hear, or even feel the invisible wind blade missing him by mere inches every time. His cloak could protect him under a light strike right now, but this sword was way too enhanced for him to stop. Hinata in the meantime, was struggling to hit his shield. He was more aware of her now and had several wind spikes thrown at her. The only reason she could actually dodge was that she could see the chakra in the spikes that were launched against her. It was a shining pure white. Whatever you do, don't let him touch you. He has, let's say, a death grab. Kyubi said while both teens struggled so that they wouldn't be SD in half, or worse. Hey, at least he's trying to S us now, Naruto joked while dodging another wind strike. Kit, he will drain my powers from your corpse if he KS you, the demon added, and Naruto frowned mentally while trying to attack. He was getting one step closer each time. Naruto dodged another wind strike. His opponent didn't seem to have even the slightest hint of tiredness. Hey, freak eye, why the hell did you try to trap us in time anyway? He asked, clearly confused as to why to trap them since he could battle them. Fosse didn't move a muscle, instead of his hand which kept making slicing motions, aiming Naruto who was more than 10 feet away. This foolish mortals wanted to do so. I had no problem, since I knew Kyubi-san would return shortly. They must learn not to underestimate a demon lord, he stated blankly, the only muscles moving were the ones of his hands and of his mouth as he spoke and simultaneously, kept fighting the two back. Sorry dude, but Furball ain't nothing but a spirit now. We are the demon lords of Konoha now, Naruto said the last sentence in his demonic voice. This time, to their ultimate surprise, Fosse raised an eyebrow, even if it was extremely light. I see. Kyubi-san, you leave your heritage to this too. Impressive choice. Though they aren't immortal, thus can't be demon lords. You are mere substitutes to Kyuubi-san, he stated blankly, the light rays of his white eyebrow now long gone. Naruto dodged another strike and finally made it to reach Fosse. Forming a Rasengan, he slammed it on his shield, destroying what little resistance was left and breaking through it. Fosse was taken aback but quickly flied into the air using his wind. What the? Was all Naruto could say at the sight of the now flying man. Naive boy, you thought it would be that easy, to defeat the master of the demon lords. He said, emotion never showing in his voice. I will not allow such powers in the hands of fools, he said, and now, he had frowned. Naruto glared at him. What were they supposed to do now? He was flying, for Kami's sake. Kit, unbind all your tails, now. Kyuubi commanded and so he did. Forming a hand seal, he released all 9 tails. Kyuubi was no fool. If an emotionless man, let alone an emotionless demon lord made such an expression, it was bad, really bad. The Godime Hokage of Konoha, Tsunade of the legendary Sannin, sat on her high back chair in her office at the Hokage Tower. Turning around to gaze at the village hidden in the leaves from her window wall, she noticed that dark clouds had started to rapidly develop. Storms coming, she thought as the dark clouds rapidly approached. Wind started to swirl wildly around Fosse, making it visible to the common eye. If you could look him straight in the eyes, you could see thunders falling inside the complete white pools. The dark clouds approached rapidly and the light of the sun was suddenly hidden. The few rays that were left were quickly swallowed from the darkness. This is bad. This is really bad, Kyuubi said, and both teens looked at each other worriedly, and then looked back at the flying Fosse. His frown was still there. Foolish mortals. Feel the wrath of heaven. He shouted in an angry, booming demonic tone that LD through the sound of the fierce winds and the thunders that fell mercilessly. Both teens looked up. In the last split second, they both dodged a lethal thunder strike from above. The sky himself was against them. What could they do? Hinata launched at him, charging with all the speed she could muster. Jumping high in the air, she was prepared to land a full-force Hojuken strike at Fosse's chest. Too bad it never connected. Fosse's shield seemed to be back full force, now enhanced with lighting. Her attack damaged it, but it was still standing strong. She herself, though, felt a little tired from the massive use of chakra. But she had to keep going. If they didn't stop him, he'll eventually destroy the village, he would take Naruto away, forever. No. No, that wouldn't happen. No, that would not happen. Not as long as this Kunoichi drew breath. Her eyes narrowed, her Akakugan full-forced and even further. She felt the demonic chakra boiling in her, she felt it rising, felt it consuming her in it. She looked down at her hand, only to see it covered in a thin, glittering layer of red chakra. Damn it. I can't hold it for long. Attack, now. The demon in her mind said. She nodded and fiercely glared at Fosse. This cloak of the fox wasn't like Naruto's. Naruto's cloak was thick and the chakra seemed to boil in anger. His 9 tails swirled around him wildly. The power emitting from him was devastating. But Hinata's, the layer of glittering chakra, felt soft and warm. It was like a layer of silk soaked in warm water. She knew it wasn't just chakra. She launched against the demon lord once more, this time far more faster than before. Naruto followed suit, using his tails to block and repel plenty of wind blades, this time visible because of the lighting infused in them. Hinata seemed to disappear from the ground as she appeared out of nowhere in front of Fosse. The demon lord just glared at her, hate in his eyes. He seemed to be really annoyed by the determination. Hinata gathered all the cloak of the fox in her hands, all the chakra was mustered in her palms. Fosse prepared to launch a wind strike, aiming for her heart, but he couldn't move. Naruto had made it to appear behind him. His 9 tails were giving him unimaginable speed. Appearing behind his opponent, he wrapped all his tails around him, rendering him immobile. Unfortunately, a powerful electric shock was sent against him, and with his tails wrapped around the demon lord's body, it was easier for the lighting to strike. Naruto screamed as the electricity coursed through him. His grip loosened as he felt his whole body going numb. At least he knew, his attempt hadn't gone in vain. Hinata had all the power gathered in her palms, and before Fosse could return his attention to her, her palms had easily broken his shield and the dual strike landed directly on his chest. His white eyes went wide, probably from the pain. But he didn't fall. Instead, The clash created a white pure light, mixed with the red fire of the Kyuubi chakra. If Naruto and Hinata didn't have their enhanced eyes, they would be blind after that. Damn you, was all Fosse could say in the blinding light. Hinata couldn't see anything else. It was as if the white light had consumed them both. The only visible thing were Fosse and his widened eyes. It is over, Fosse, she said in her demonic tone, but he took her off guard with a simple reaction. He smirked. You think I'll let you go so easily, little demon? He said, and by using all his remaining strength, he grabbed her wrists. Hinata's eyes went wide as she realized she couldn't take him off. With a final smirk, he launched all his remaining power against her, shocking the life out of her with all the lighting power he could muster at the moment. Hinata felt her whole body going numb, her thoughts suddenly stopped, her heart seemed to not beat. After that little encounter, Fosse faded away, his body slowly turning into air and electricity. After a few seconds, everything was gone, Fosse was nowhere to be seen, as if he evaporated in the air, which he did, and Hinata felt herself falling from the sky, unable to move a muscle. Naruto raised his hands to defend his eyes from the blinding light. When it started fading, he looked up to see Hinata falling from the sky, and his heart skipped a beat. He used all his power to move, his body still somehow numb from his last encounter. It hurt like hell to even move his arm, but he did, for he had to, for he wanted to. Fighting hard to keep himself from collapsing, he rushed towards the falling Hinata. He managed to catch her in his arms in the last moment, but the weight of her body, combined with his numb muscles and the force of the fall, made him collapse, her on top. He forced himself to sit up. He sat down and placed her in his lap, her head on his shoulder. He pressed 2 fingers on her wrist. She was alive, but her heartbeat was weak. What should he do? He could take her to the hospital, but he didn't have the strength to carry her. He then knew that he couldn't do anything, and she would be gone. Tears immediately welled up in his eyes as the thought passed his mind. She was hardly even breathing, her eyes looking at him weakly, ready to close any moment now. She saw the fear in his eyes, the sorrow, the pain. She wished they wouldn't come to this, she wished things could go differently. But now her own eyes started to well up in tears. She could feel them gathering in her eyes, but she didn't even have the strength to fight them back. A single one made its way down her pale cheek, and she could see Naruto sending down far more, as he couldn't believe the sight before him. No. Why did the world have to be so cruel? He for once had found happiness, and now, it was slipping away like a dream. Slipping away like a nice, old summer dream. And he would wake up once more in his hell, but now, it would be far worse. He had found happiness for a few days, and it was starting to slip away in a minute. Why? Why did he deserve that? What had he done? What had he done? He couldn't believe his eyes. She was starting to slip away, her light fading. Why? She didn't deserve such fate. She didn't deserve any of this. He wanted to blame himself, for bringing her with him, for caring for her, for putting her in his life, for loving her. She kept looking at him in the eye, fighting hard the urge to give up, just let go and slip in the eternal darkness. But no, she couldn't do that. She had promised herself to never let him slip in that hell again, never let him slip back in the darkness. She felt another tear falling down her cheek. She couldn't keep her word this time, and she knew it. She hated herself for that. She hated herself for being his friend, for being next to him, for making him fall in love with her. If he hadn't, he wouldn't have to go through this. Why? Why was life so cruel? Why did good people have to suffer? This thought lingered in their minds. Why did angels deserve to rest? She was an angel for him. She was the kindest soul he had met, always willing to help others before herself. Always there for him, always there, willing to help. Beautiful like nothing else in the world. He wished words could describe her physical beauty, but it would be even harder to find words to describe her inner one. Unmatchable is only an understatement. He was an angel for her. A living inspiration. One you could depend your life on. One who would never betray you. One whose determination could bring down mountains. One whose cerulean eyes could make you wish to drown in them. He always inspired her, his loud character, his inhuman determination, his ability to fall, yet stand again. She knew that if she was gone, he would too, from more than a broken heart. Tears were falling down their faces. Why cry when angels deserve to rest? Naruto-kun, she whispered weakly. Naruto felt his heart skip a beat, maybe two. Her voice was more than music for his ears. His heart ached as he thought he wouldn't hear it again. He couldn't stand it, he knew it. He knew he wouldn't stand it. Hina-chan, don't, please, don't give up. You can't go. Please, he whispered, trying hard to fight the sobs back. She smiled weakly. Naruto-kun, I'll always be there, she whispered weakly once more, feeling life being drained out of her. She used all her remaining strength to raise her hand on his chest, right on his heart. He caught it in his. Hina-chan, I won't leave you. I won't let you go. I am here, he whispered softly, trying to comfort her, trying to comfort himself, trying to convince him she wouldn't go. By your side, they whispered in unison. He felt new tears welling up, as did she. She knew she had to fight, she knew she couldn't give up just yet. She had to stay there, she had to stay by his side, no matter what. He wouldn't let her go. He wouldn't let her slip away. He wouldn't let her fade away, become a loving memory of the past. No, not a chance in hell. But what was there to do? Their depression grew at the thought. What could they do? She felt herself slowly becoming weaker, life being drained out of her with every passing second. He also felt it, a part of his soul starting to slip away, slowly burning to ashes. Slowly, painfully slow it was slipping away. No, he had to grasp it, stop the pain, but how? How the hell would they? Their QB chakra wasn't enough to heal her whole system. Her muscles were nearly destroyed, allowing her no movement without extreme pain. All hope was lost. QB, standing behind their eyes, could see the sorrow. He could see the grief, he could even feel it. Memories of the past started flying in his mind. Memories of a past he didn't want to relive, yet there he was, living it again. No, he wouldn't let it repeat. He wouldn't let them feel the same thing he did. He had promised himself this, and he would be damned before he would break his word. He gathered up all his life force, trying one last desperate move. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.